She saw a wolf, eyes glowing in the darkness, staring straight through her soul. Clara froze, her breath caught in her throat, her hands trembling as she dialed emergency services. "There's a wolf out here," she whispered, her voice cracking with terror. But when authorities arrived with flashlights cutting through the black night, what they found wasn't a predator. It was something far more heartbreaking. Tangled in thorny branches, ribs jutting out like prison bars beneath paper-thin skin, was a jet-black German shepherd, barely alive, abandoned, and fighting for one more breath. This wasn't a wolf. This was a soul left to die. Let me take you back to how this all started. Clara's night had been a disaster. The power had cut out just as she was racing to finish her work deadline, plunging her apartment into suffocating darkness. Frustration boiled over into tears. She grabbed her thick jacket and stormed outside, desperate for air, for space, for anything to calm the chaos screaming in her head. She had no idea her entire life was about to change. Walking along the roadside, lost in her thoughts, she saw headlights swerving directly toward her. Panic exploded through her veins. She lunged sideways, her body slamming against the gravel as the car roared past, missing her by inches. Her heart hammered against her ribs so violently she thought it might crack them. Crouched on the cold ground, shaking, gasping for oxygen, she scanned the darkness. Did anyone see that? Was she alone? That's when she saw them. Two glowing eyes, piercing through the blackness, locked onto her. Every muscle in her body turned to stone. "Hello?" she called out, her voice barely a whisper. The response shattered the silence, a deep, guttural howl that sent ice flooding through her spine. Wolf. It had to be a wolf. Fumbling for her phone with trembling fingers, she dialed authorities, stammering about a wild animal on the loose. Police arrived, animal control followed, veterinarians rushed to the scene. But what they discovered wasn't what anyone expected. Trapped in a tangled mass of thorn bushes, so weak he couldn't even struggle free, was a massive black German shepherd. Not a wolf, a dog, barely recognizable as one. His body was nothing but bones wrapped in scarred, filthy fur. Deep gashes covered his legs. Bite marks told stories of brutal fights for survival. If you're watching this and haven't subscribed yet, I have to say I'm a little heartbroken. Stories like this need your support. Hit that subscribe button right now. You won't regret it. Now, back to what happened next. They rushed him to the emergency vet clinic, pumping IV fluids into his dehydrated veins, while Clara stood in the corner, unable to look away. They scanned his microchip, found his owner, called the number, and here's where it gets even more devastating. His owner had moved to another country, just packed up and left, abandoned this loyal, loving creature like garbage on the side of the road. This poor dog had been surviving alone in the wilderness for months, starving, fighting, waiting for someone who was never coming back. Clara believed in fate, she believed in science, and standing there, watching this broken soul fight to stay alive, she knew this was hers. Clara pulled the vet aside, her voice quiet but determined. "Tell me about him." The vet hesitated, flipping through charts, studying the unconscious dog on the metal table. "He seems calm," the vet said carefully, "maybe a bit skittish, scared. We found scars all over his body, tooth marks, claw wounds. He's been in fights, probably defending himself out there." Clara's heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. This gentle giant, this defenseless creature, had been forced to become a fighter just to survive. She leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Can I adopt him?" The vet's face fell. "I'm sorry, he has an owner." Clara's eyes filled with tears. "But they abandoned him, left him to die." The vet nodded slowly. "Yes, but legally he still belongs to them. If the owner signs the surrender paperwork, he becomes available. Until then, you could foster him temporarily. If the owner agrees to release him, he's yours." They called the owner again, explained the situation, and the response made Clara's blood run cold.
"Sure, she can have that monster," the voice on the other end sneered. "If she can handle him. I don't care what happens to that beast. He's a nightmare, a complete animal." The call ended. Clara stood there, fists clenched, rage and heartbreak warring inside her chest. Monster? This broken, starving dog who couldn't even stand on his own? The paperwork was filed. Days turned into weeks. Clara visited every single day, sitting beside his recovery kennel, whispering promises. "You're safe now. I've got you. Nobody's leaving you ever again." The day finally came. Treatment complete. Bills paid in full. Clara insisted on covering every cent. She walked into that clinic, signed the final adoption papers, and looked down at the massive black German shepherd staring up at her with those same glowing eyes from that dark night. "You're completely black," she whispered, running her fingers through his fur. "And I thought you were a wolf that night, so your name is Wolf now." The moment she said it, his tail moved, just once, slow, deliberate, like he was saying, "Yes, that's me. That's who I am now."
Wolf came home, and everything Clara thought she knew about dogs shattered instantly. The vet had said he might be skittish, scared, timid. That was the biggest lie anyone had ever told her. Wolf wasn't scared of anything. The first time a stray cat wandered near their yard, Wolf unleashed a howl so deep, so powerful, the glass vibrated in its frame. That booming voice could rattle walls, shake foundations, send everything running for cover. This wasn't a timid rescue dog. This was a guardian, a protector, a force of nature who had finally found his purpose. Clara and Wolf became inseparable, two halves of the same soul. They moved through life like they'd been designed specifically for each other, like the universe had orchestrated that terrible night just so their paths could collide. Clara's favorite thing became watching Wolf's ears, those tall, alert ears that stood straight up like satellites, constantly scanning for threats. She'd gently tug on them and Wolf would lean into her touch, that massive scarred head pressing into her palm. The official adoption papers came through. He was truly, completely, forever hers. Sometimes Clara thinks about that night, the power outage, the glowing eyes. If even one thing had been different, Wolf would still be out there, alone, dying. But fate had other plans. Two broken souls found each other at the exact moment they needed it most. Wolf wasn't a monster, he was a miracle. What would you name a dog you thought was a wolf? Tell me in the comments.